Today, we are breaking down one of the famous queen sacrifices ever played, the Evergreen Game, and it's only 24 moves long. Hi, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master. This is episode 3 of Queen Sacrifice Legends, where we revisit the most iconic queen sacrifices in the chess history and break them down clearly. And while we go through this game, I'll give you a few pause moments so you can calculate and try to find the winning ideas yourself. If you have a favorite queen sacrifice you would like me to cover next, comment it below. This game was played in 1852 in Berlin between Adolf Anderssen and Jean Dufresne. It's called the Evergreen Game because its beauty has not faded with time. Even after more than 170 years, players still study it. The attacking ideas still work, the final combination still feels fresh. And what makes it even more impressive is that the entire masterpiece is just 24 moves long. Adolf Anderssen was one of the strongest players in the world in the mid 19th century. He won the London 1851 tournament, considered the first major international chess tournament, and at that time an unofficial world championship. He later won London 1862 as well, confirming his status among the elite. He's also the player behind the famous Immortal Game. By profession, he was a mathematics teacher like me, while in chess history, he is remembered as one of the greatest attacking players of the Romantic era. Jean was a strong German master and respected chess author. He co-authored important chess literature and was a serious figure in the Berlin chess community. This was not a casual game against a weak opponent. Jean was a capable master, which makes this attacking display even more remarkable. Now, let's get into this 24 move masterpiece and see how the queen sacrifice unfolds. White is Adolf Anderssen and black is Jean. And white continued the game with e4, black replied with e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So Italian game is on the board, and here black replied with bishop c5, which is known as Geico piano. And here white is having so many options, and usually people play c3, the idea is d4 and castle, and they play a good game. But here we have one reply which is the most aggressive variation and not everyone love to play, which is known as Evans Gambit, one of my favorites. And here he played b4, sacrificing his pawn in move 4. And yes, this pawn can be captured with two different ways, knight and bishop. And black captured the pawn with bishop, and white played c3, bishop a5, and d4, striking in the center right away. And now black captures the pawn and white simply castle. And if you see, it's move 7th, he has sacrificed two pawns already and castled the king into the safety. Black has taken two pawns and his pieces are not developed properly. Here, black played d3 because he doesn't want to capture the third pawn and give white a lot of chances. That's why he played d3 here and white replied with queen b3. His idea is simple, he is attacking on f7. And here black played queen f6, defending f7, and white even played e5. Obviously, he wants to distract the queen from protecting f7, and here black continued with queen g6 and white played rook e1. He has put four pieces around the king, and obviously he's going for attack. Black continued with knight ge7 and white played bishop a3. And usually in these type of setups, this bishop becomes super strong. And that might be the case in this game as well. And it's black's turn, and black should castle, and black can play a normal game. But for some reason, black played b5, just sacrificing the pawn back. And here, he has two options, capture the pawn with the bishop or with the queen. So he go with the queen one, and that was the idea of b5. He played rook b8. Black can clearly see the white species are getting too much active. So he also wants to make his pieces active. So the knight is protecting the rook and rook is attacking the queen. And he sacrificed a pawn and activated the rook. White played queen a4, just saving the queen. And here he played bishop b6. Just going back so that knight will not be overloaded to protect the bishop and the rook at the same time. And also he's attacking on f2. He can't capture it obviously, but in the future he will be able to open the lines against the white king. If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now let's continue. And white continue with knight b d2, And with this, he has used his all of the minor pieces and even the rook and queen. The only piece he didn't use yet is a1 rook, which he will activate it soon. And black continue the game here with bishop b7, knight e4. He's slowly and surely putting the pieces around the white king. And obviously, it's not easy to continue the game for black because there are so many pieces in the center for white, and black's king is still in the center and his queen is also not having a great time. He should be continuing the game with f5 as per computer, and maybe he's able to hold it. But unfortunately, he played queen f5, which is a first blunder of the game. White continue with bishop takes d3, and his idea is he's threatening to give a check on f6 or d6 and win the queen. That's a simple plan. So that is why he moved the queen to h5. So pause the video here and find the best way how you can continue the attack with white. White should continue the game with knight g3. The idea is we are attacking the queen, and when queen moves to h6, you will play knight f5, knight takes, bishop takes, and you will have this position. And from here, black will be having a lots of trouble to play this game. The idea is the bishops looks great because they are attacking on the white king, but they can't do anything alone. And this knight on c6 cannot be moved because queen and bishop is putting a pressure on d7. The rook on e1 is already a great, and this bishop on a3 is making sure that black cannot castle. So a very tough position for black to continue after that. But unfortunately, after queen h5, white played knight f6 check, which for computer it's a blunder, but not for humans. His idea is this knight has to be captured, otherwise it's a fork. So black is having only one option to capture the knight, and now white captured it back. And here the idea for white is white see he's anyways gonna win the knight later on, so he can sacrifice the knight and open the black king. And here black played rook g8, and now his rook is also attacking the king, and in some of the variations he can even win the knight on f3. So game continues on, and white played a calm move rook ad1, and as per computer you can see the eval bar, it's equal, but for humans it's not. So I can give you an idea how black should continue the game, because black didn't continue the game with a good fashion and black blundered the game here. So black should be playing queen h3. The idea is there's a checkmate coming on g2, and whenever he'll save the checkmate by playing bishop f1, black will play queen f5. And either he has to take the knight or he's gonna lose f5, and black will be fine. But unfortunately, in this position, black played queen takes f3, which is a blunder. This is the last pause moment for this video. Pause the video here and find the best move for white. So what black missed here was rook takes e7 check. And here he should be just moving the king to d8 or f8 and give up a knight and hope for the best. But unfortunately, he captured this rook with a knight and he missed something. And this is the reason why it is known as an evergreen game. The move black missed is queen takes d7, simply sacrificing the white queen. And now the idea is the same. This queen has to get captured, otherwise if king f8, queen e7 will be a checkmate. So king has to capture it, and now black is having 15 extra points of material, but it's not worth it if your king is not safe. And white continue with a double check, bishop f5. It's a check from bishop and from the rook. And yes, it looked like queen can capture the bishop and the rook, but unfortunately, you cannot capture the two pieces in one move, and there is no good way to block the both checks at the same time. So whenever the double check came, king has to move. And yes, don't forget to watch chess tactic video on double attack. I'll put a video card for you. Let's come back. And here, king has to move. So king goes to e8, and now he give a check on d7. He move it on f8, and it is simply checkmate on e7 with the help of bishops, rook, and a pawn. That's the Evergreen game. 24 moves, 1 queen sacrifice, and an attack that still holds up more than a century later. If you enjoyed this episode of Queen Sacrifice Legends, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And drop your favorite Queen Sacrifice in the comments. I would love to feature it. See you in the next one.